Welcome to an episode of Altitude Advantage. I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. Across the table from me, we have our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla. And if you're watching on YouTube, we're very excited to see you because we're back. It's like that sounds like we're back. It's like we're so back.
It's game week.
It's game week. I'm very excited.
Finally.
We made it. We've survived. Everyone survived training camp. We've survived dog days of summer. And now we will not be without NFL football until next year, which just warms up my heart.
Oh yeah, hopefully Broncos football until mid-February. That's the goal. That is the goal.
That is the goal. Well, we're excited to be back here in the podcast studio, back to bring you weekly content as we kick off the new year. We're going to have a lot on DenverBroncos.com. We're going to have your game previews going into the week. And then on Mondays, we recap what's happened. We look, short look ahead. But just, getting guys back into the groove of things. Our listeners have been without us as we go into week one. So I'm excited.
I know. How do you think they've managed?
Survived.
There's only been one episode a week, sometimes less than that.
Mm-hmm.
If we're just like, what do we talk about? So
exactly.
We got our friend Ike walking by as we record this. That's a distraction. We can't allow distractions.
No distractions. That's not the culture here.
That's right.
No distractions.
But now I am distracted. Yeah, two normal shows a week, the Monday, the Thursday, and then, of course, I'll chat with somebody from each team's opposing market on Fridays, and then post-game Sunday, I'll talk to myself and just kind of bring an instant breakdown. So a lot of good stuff. Maybe you listened to Altitude Advantage last year. Maybe you didn't, and this is your first
welcome.
Kind of look. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We missed you.
And also, we don't call it talking to yourself. We call it going inside the mind of the lead writer.
It's dangerous in there. But sometimes I occasionally say something smart or intelligent, but you got to listen to it and find out if I do. Obviously, that first one will come this Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. At least I feel like there is an excitement around Broncos country that I don't know if it's hyperbolic to say at the highest it's been since 2015. Just big picture, the expectations for this team are high. The talent level on this team, I believe, is really high. You think you've got the young quarterback that can take you to that next level. And so, yeah, there's good reason for the optimism, the excitement, and we're getting close to kicking it off against the Titans.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just opening up here at home and having Broncos country get the first look in, at home field. And I think that's a big part of it, right? Because the guys really feed off of that. Bo Nix played very well at home last season. And so I think being able to start at home is a key part. But I know the other key part, especially for this team, is starting fast. And that is something that has kind of been a theme over the course of training camp. It's kind of working in certain different situations, starting fast, preseason, during postgame. A lot of guys talked about that. And then head coach Sean Payton talked about that early on Monday too.
Yeah, and listen, I saw this stat today, and I kind of like...
Oh, man, we're back with the stats.
Well, it took me a second because the Broncos have lost 3 season openers in a row. And when I thought about it, especially the success that Denver had last year, and even, for most of the 2023 season, the way they responded, I don't think of those 2 seasons in particular, the same way that I think about, some of the struggles that came, in the late 2010s or the early... part of the 2020s, like those years felt different to me. And yet it is true that each of the last 3 years, the Broncos have lost their season opener. And it's not like they weren't able to respond a year ago. Obviously started 0-2. They were 0-3 in 2023 and started 1-5 overall. So it's not like they couldn't dig themselves out of that hole. In 2023, they got back to 6-5, I believe, maybe even 7-6. And then last year, of course, had a nice run and went essentially 10-5 down the stretch after that 0-2 opening to the year. But all that said is it creates difficulty when you put yourself in that hole, even if it's a 1-game hole or a 2-game hole. And I think there's something to be said for the momentum, the energy, the positivity that you could build from getting a week 1 win and just starting this thing off strong and just kind of rolling from there. And Sean Payton has talked about, hey, any team that accomplishes something in this league starts fast and stacks wins. And the Broncos, I think, have a chance here. And we'll get into the matchup a lot this week later in our Thursday show. But you're going against a rookie quarterback making his first ever start on the road. He would be just, he's looking to be just the second number 1 overall pick to win his first career start since 2002, I believe. Caleb Williams did it last year, but before that, you have to go all the way back to David Carr.
Yeah.
And then you look at quarterbacks that have made their first career start on the road. I think I saw a stat today that Sam Darnold in 2018 is the first rookie quarterback to win his first career start that came on the road. So, I mean, think about all the great things Bo Nix did last year, and yet
go back to that Seattle game.
And yet week 1 in Seattle was a struggle, and I think you can see that Jaden Daniels, for as much as he did, a difficult first couple of games for him, and so. I think when you look at the opportunity the Broncos have in front of them, and make no mistake, you still got to go out and do it, and you've got to. We'll talk about what Sean Payton said and kind of how you do it, right? But if you are able to convert on this opportunity and start 1-0, okay, maybe let that. Sean Payton talks about confidence is born from demonstrated ability. If you see yourself go 1-0, okay, maybe then you're able to take that going into Indianapolis and get another win and just start to roll here. And listen, the big picture goal is competing for a division title.
Yeah.
And Kansas City is going to win games. LA is going to win games. The Raiders look like they're much improved. You're going to have to keep pace here, and I'd much rather do that from the 1-0 side of things than the 0-1 side of things.
Yeah, well, you look at week 3, you're already seeing a AFC West rival there, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of the guys wanted to focus on, right? And a lot of the guys say, look, it's on us, it's on the details, it's how we kind of come together. Starting fast is easier said than done, but Sean Payton mentioned it is a mentality. It's also the little things, like just taking care of sleep schedule, like how you eat. And I think that ties back into one of the biggest focal points of this franchise is making sure, the best nutritionists are here, the best physical therapists, best everything, the best training staff, because they understand to win on the field, the players have to get treated correctly, resting, and Evan Ingram spoke about that a little earlier on Monday as well, just saying they are teaching me things that I didn't know, and he's a vet in this league, and so for him to say I'm learning new things about how to have my body at the highest peak going into the season and keeping it there is a big plus. So I think factoring in all those little things is another way you can start fast.
Yeah, I also think there's an element of last year this team was young and hungry, and we heard that from Sean Payton that it can be dangerous. But I think there was a little
hungrier.
Well, yeah, that might be true. But I think one of the things with it, there was this, you don't know what you don't know last year. You just go out and play. Mm-hmm. And this year the expectations are higher for sure, both internally and externally, I think. But I also think that there's maybe an awareness or a focus this year where it's hey, we know we have big goals, and these are the things we've got to do to accomplish these goals. And so those things that you mentioned, the sleep, the eating right, the game planning and the film review, it seemed very business-like during training camp in terms of just guys, especially Bo. During camp, it was this is what we've got to do to get where we need to go. And so I wonder if that kind of workman-like approach transfers over and kind of helps start fast, because these guys know where they want to go. And so to them, it's week 1, you've got to win. You've got to start strong. And then it's okay, well, then we know we have to do X, Y, Z to get there. And so the culture that Sean Payton has put in place, where you mentioned all those things he values, I think it's also kind of harping on those details, and guys know the importance of doing all the little stuff right so that the wins can follow. And so, again, you never know what's going to happen on Sunday, and I think we'll talk more about Cam Ward, but you don't really know what to expect. You've got a little bit of preseason footage. Yeah. You've got college tape that shows you, as Sean Payton said, how strong his arm is. But you don't know what he's going to come out there and do. And maybe he's a gamer and he really pushes this team. So you don't know what it is going to look like on Sunday. But that said, I have confidence based on the program Sean Payton has built that at least these guys are going to be ready and they're going to be locked in, and there's not going to be like this, lack of focus or energy or whatever it might be. Like I have confidence that it could be a close game, who knows, but like and it could come down to the final seconds. But all that said, I have confidence that they're going to be ready to go because of what I've seen in training camp in terms of the focus, in terms of kind of the goals that they've set.
Yeah. Last year, you talked a lot about the buckets, right? The different buckets of team. When you have a home opener, week 1, where do you think this game lands in those buckets? I'm just wondering because to your point, like with looking at past home openers, like, look, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's interesting to see how this game can go. And it is any given Sunday. And we've seen Bo Nix could have easily, not easily, but he could have got that win in Seattle. It was a very close game. He did battle back. That's the fun part about week 1, right? You get a test to see what each team has been working on in the offseason. And Peyton also mentioned that as well. So in like the first 1 or 4 weeks, everyone's kind of building up to things, right? And it's an accelerated learning curve to be like, okay, this is what we thought we got right. We got to fix this. And so I feel like that's a good, interesting mindset to have going into the season because yes, you do expect your team to win and expect them to be ready. But I think being ready for the unexpected is also a good trait to have.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that there's like elements of this game that if you're the Broncos, you're probably glad that you're catching a rookie quarterback in his first start. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you had Cam Ward in week 8 or week 9, there'd be more film. And so you'd be able to study his tendencies a little more, know what he does well. Maybe he plays really well against man, but struggles against zone. Maybe he struggles when you bring pressure, but maybe he thrives against that. Those are the sorts of things that if you played a rookie quarterback in week 8 or week 9, you'd know the answer to those things. Whereas week 1, there's the benefit of, hey, Cam Ward has never gone against an NFL defense in a full game before.
Let alone this defense.
Yeah, let alone a defense that finished really highly last year. But at the same time, you don't know exactly what they're trying to do offensively. You don't know exactly. You might find out that, hey, this guy's got a really great sense of when to get rid of the football against the blitz, and he wants you to play man on the outside and have one-on-one. Like, you just don't know. So I think there's that. And then there's this element of like, hey, if you play a team week 4, week 5, you've probably rounded into shape a little bit. We've heard Sean Payton talk about with Bo Nix and the offense, we're not throwing everything at them week 1. We're trying to figure out hey, maybe Bo can handle this, but what can the receivers and the tight ends handle, right? And so that you're not trying to do too much too soon. And maybe if you played a team week 4, week 5, you're closer to your full complement or more wrinkles or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. Maybe as a defense, I think you always see around the league week 1, sometimes tackling is a little bit, it can be cleaned up going into week 2 just because guys are playing their first action. And so there's the unknown of week 1 and really through like week 4 that way that, maybe you look at it as, and I view it this way, any home game, you'd hope the Broncos are able to grab that home game and earn a win. And then particularly when you're facing a young quarterback and you've got a defense that's good, can you take advantage of that? But all that said, there's just so many unknowns with a week 1 game. That's what makes it exciting in part because you don't really know what to expect. Like we could come out and the Broncos could roll, or it could be a really close game, and it comes down to the final minutes and like Cam Ward plays out of his mind. You just don't know what it's going to look like, and that's part of what makes it a little bit difficult to project. But all that said, I think that's where it comes down to. We know the quality that Sean Payton is as a head coach. Yep. We've seen this defense, and while the first couple of series in the preseason action have been maybe not as airtight as they'd like, they've bounced back well. We've seen the offense in both preseason games follow up initial series with scores, and that's where maybe the week 1 to week 4, maybe there's a little bit less unknown just because the Broncos have played some preseason football. And I'm interested to see, last year they played week 2, did not play week 3 of the preseason. And then so they essentially went like 3 weeks without game action. this year playing against New Orleans, I wonder if playing a little bit closer to the game, if that helps from like a tackling standpoint or an execution standpoint. But you got to be ready to go. I think the ideal situation for the Broncos is you come out and set the tone early, both on offense and on defense, get the lead, let the crowd get behind you, and make things really difficult on Tennessee's offense, because I would imagine they want to keep it close. They don't want to put too much on Cam Ward, would be my guess. And if you're able to jump out to an early lead and then kind of let the pass rush, your secondary, the strengths of your defense get after it, that feels like a good recipe for success. But again, you never know until things kick off. And then next week we'll know a little bit more, right? Like, hey, what does this offense look like? What does this defense look like? What does, Indianapolis look like? We saw them in week 1. We don't really know this week. And so it makes it hard to preview, and it also makes it
exciting.
A little bit, I was going to say scary, but exciting works too.
Yeah, well, that works both ways, right? Because the Broncos also have a lot of new faces on here. And so the excitement and, the scariness to see from the other team's perspective of like what these playmakers can do, the Broncos have added to this roster. And knowing that Alex Singleton is going to come back, Dre Greenlaw is expected to come back, like these two guys being on the field at the same time. DJ Jones spoke about that early on Monday, saying like it's going to be amazing because those are two vets that know what they're doing and they know how to help us. And I think Alex Singleton obviously went out really early last year with an injury, was out for the season. Him coming back, I think the way that the guys have talked about him, the way that Vance Joseph has talked about him, they just say he's such a leader, like a heartbeat of this defense. And so for him to be back out there, if we thought this defense was scary last year, I can only imagine how they can elevate to that next level, not only with the additions that they added on defense, but with Alex Singleton coming back too.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, Alex is a great player. Like you mentioned, an emotional leader of this team. You had Dre Greenlaw there, who's just like, he flies around and makes such a difference.
He's so fun to watch, yeah.
Talanoa Hufanga coming back from injury last year to join this Denver defense. We haven't really seen all of that together, right? Because Greenlaw didn't get preseason action, so you haven't seen those guys together out there. I have a feeling that when you see it at full speed, it's going to be great, and it's going to be really impressive. That said, and maybe it's aided by the fact that you have that they're veterans and they've talked a lot and they know kind of how to practice and all that. That should help, but it's still live football for the first time with these guys. And so how do Alex Singleton and Dre Greenlaw kind of figure things out on the fly in their first live action together when they're out there against Tennessee, and the communication and making sure that you're picking things up? I think like last year in Seattle, the Broncos played great defensively, except for like one coverage bust, and it was a big play.
Yeah.
And, that's not the reason they lost the football game, but certainly it hurts when you give up a touchdown like that. And so how do you make sure that, I don't want to say like an easy, like how do you make sure that you're not giving up something that shouldn't give up? And that, like, hey, if you force teams to go 15 play drives down the field and they score a touchdown, like to some degree, credit to them for being able to put together that type of drive, but don't let them have that like easy, like I think back to the Brock Bowers play last year against the Raiders, where it's the first drive of the game and they just chuck one up and it's a jump ball and you lose out on the jump ball, and then all of a sudden you're down 7-0 or whatever it was, and it's like, okay, that's not like hey, they earned that one necessarily. That one you feel like you should have back. And so I think watching Dre Greenlaw, Alex Singleton, both great players, from a communication standpoint with the rest of the defense, like how do they make sure they're ready to go there? And I think Vance Joseph has talked about that and talked about like the consistency and not, I'm trying to remember how he phrased it, but basically like don't give up the awkward plays, I think is how he phrased it. And so that to me defensively I'll be watching for is like, to me it feels like if you just play and you can keep everything in front of you and you've got this good run defense, and again, if the offense can help out and give you a lead and you force a young quarterback to throw it a bunch of times and the crowd is going crazy and it's hard to hear, like that should play into your benefit. But if, a guy slips open on a wheel route and he scores an easy touchdown and now you're down 7-0, it makes it a little bit like it changes the script of the game. And to me, like, again, you never know, but where these teams are right now, it feels like if the Broncos can keep the script in their favor, or at least like even moderate, I think they'll be in a good spot. But if you let the Titans like flip that, you see every year that one of those, like last year, people didn't have very high expectations for New England, and yet Cincinnati lost to them in week 1, and then it ends up crushing Cincinnati's. Like Cincinnati goes to the playoffs if they don't lose that game week 1 to New England, a team that wasn't even starting their rookie quarterback at that point, right? And had really struggled the year before, had the number 3 or 4 overall pick, like a team that a year ago was in similar circumstances to Tennessee. Cincinnati was a team with Super Bowl hopes, and yet they lost. And so you've got to be ready to go. And when, like, that's the thing about starting fast is, to me, it's not just week 1. It's like first drive, first quarter of, hey, jump out quickly and kind of like put this thing. No, a lot of NFL games are one-score games at the end. And one of the really remarkable things last year was, I'm trying to find it in this stat sheet, but they had a bunch of wins by 8+ points. The Broncos did last year. Of their 10 wins, I think like 8 of them were by 8+ points. I could be a little bit off there, but obviously the New York game was close.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think the other one that was a close win, but by and large, they were by double-digit points, and then they lost a number of one-score games, and so you hope those one-score games kind of
flipped, at
even
least
out.
a few of them.
Right, but then like it's rare for the Broncos. The Broncos had more. I think they had as many 10-point wins as the Bills last year. Like, and they were up there with leading the league in that category. So the Broncos did a great job last year, like we've talked about before, of not letting games kind of get too close where they can go either way.
Yeah.
And so, can you find a way to do that again where you start this game fast, put it out of reach, and find a way to get to 1-0?
Yeah, I think the other part of that is turnovers. I think that's something that, especially with a rookie quarterback, you want to be able to cause for him. Like, again, that comes with the crowd noise, being loud, and then disrupting their huddle and making sure that they can't get set right. They make a mistake, and the defense is able to capitalize with whatever, like a turnover or just a sack, something like that, like to really kind of get, to your point, the crowd going, get their defense going, and kind of get in the rhythm. Because if you notice, the Broncos went on a stretch last year where like every game they had at least 1 to 2 turnovers. And that was a big key on helping out their rookie quarterback at that time. Now, Bo Nix has developed even more. He's going into year 2 after coming off a very successful year 1. And so it's like, how can that impact even Bo even more as he it goes into his second year and taking advantage of those opportunities and that field position, knowing the game more now at NFL speed than he did last year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Bo play. And obviously next time we do the pod on Thursday, we'll have heard from Bo as he's getting ready to go into year 2.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 things with Bo that I'm excited to see. One is like, how does he make plays? And maybe that sounds obvious, but like you throw the ball, he's made these plays to Mims and Franklin and like has had these big time chunk plays. Like I'm excited to see those. I think everybody in Broncos country hopes you see like that 70-yard bomb.
Oh, Troy is ready. Troy Franklin is ready, yeah.
But I also think that there was a maturity to his game last year where, save for 1 or 2 games, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't take sacks. And we saw this offseason in Seth Wickersham's book, this negative play formula that Sean Payton had when Bo Nix was coming out of college of like how he evaluated quarterbacks. And he's had that for several years. But with Bo, it was like 1 negative play every 80-something snaps. And Sean Payton has talked again and again about how you don't feel like you're in harm's way when Bo Nix is playing quarterback.
Yeah.
And to me, this week in particular, at home, week 1, when things are like a little bit unsure and you don't know exactly what Tennessee's going to toss at you and you don't know exactly like, okay, how does a Cody Barton fit in at linebacker? How does Draymond Jones fit in outside rushing the passer? Like when there's things you don't know yet, I think that ability to avoid the negative play is just as important as hitting a 60-yard pass to Marvin Mims, because if you can avoid getting sacked and putting yourself in, 3rd and long, or you can avoid throwing a pick, or you can avoid fumbling the football if you're Denver, like those things matter. And it feels to me like a game where, like you said, if the offense doesn't make mistakes, you're hopeful the defense can force some turnovers. You win that turnover battle. Even though the Titans have new pieces along the offensive line, we still know how good this Denver pass rush is. Like, I don't want to suggest that I'm like saying play it safe, because that's not what I mean, but like to some degree, and I think we've talked about this before, a lot of NFL games I feel like are lost more than they're won, like with mistakes.
Yeah.
And there were times last year when the Broncos didn't make those mistakes and let other teams make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Like Indianapolis, for example. Like
It's a great example.
last year they made those mistakes.
Yeah.
And the Broncos, like, and yes, Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions in that game, but they weren't kind of in the area of the field where they were like backbreaking, right? And so, or Cleveland, like the Broncos did a good job of not beating themselves a lot last year. And I think it's up to Bo Nix to some degree to like continue to be who you were last year and not have those negative plays, because even if you get a couple first downs and you have to punt,
Yeah.
like that to me is not the end of the world compared to, hey, it's a pick or it's a sack that pushes you way back. So that kind of stands out to me. And it's our first look at Bo. And so I know everyone wants him to go out there and throw 4 touchdowns and 300 yards and no picks. And it's like, maybe that'll happen. But also I think you think back to some of these guys that are just winning consistently. Like, it doesn't always have to be that insane statistic performance. Just to me, especially week 1, when you're unsure of things, the fact that Bo doesn't make those negative plays is kind of reassuring to me and gives me a little more confidence that things will turn out the right way for Denver this weekend.
The mental discipline is something I think that not enough people talk about, right? Because you do want to see those flash plays, but I think understanding, knowing what you need to get, extending drives, taking time off of the clock, that's another part of the game that obviously I think this team has gotten better at. And I think with the time management and the situations that they've been in during training camp has allowed them to kind of get an idea of what game action is going to be and what they need to do in certain situations. And with Bo, last year he was one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's a big testament to his offensive line, who thankfully is coming back for another year. And you look at the continuity of what that's going to build, add that on to the running back game that's going to be brand new this year with the additions of Harvey and J.K. Dobbins, and excited to see what they do on the field. I think, Sean Payton mentioned where he said, yeah, like we feel really good about the personnel, and now this week we're going to get our first look about what it looks like. And so it's a fun testament to be like, we've done the work and we've done everything we needed to do in the offseason. We controlled what we could control during that time. And now, just like the rest of us, we're going to see how it translates onto the field on game day, at home, in an environment, wanting to win, to go up 1-0 to start the season. I think that's a big part of it. So when you look at what Bo going to his second year, the offensive line having that continuity going into this year as well, and then this running back game that's, going to hopefully explode in the way that the offense is looking and needing it to. Not even talking about Evan Ingram either. So it's like there's a lot of things that are kind of just waiting to kind of come together, mesh together, and have more of a complete game on the offensive side.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be, maybe they come out and score 45 in week 1. That'll be awesome. I think you often see teams like kind of build toward where they're going to be, but just the way that Bo finished the year last year, over the final, 13 weeks of the season, Bo was 6th in touchdowns among all offensive players. You look at what this team did against non-playoff teams. Last year, the Broncos were 8-2, 28.8 points per game, point differential of plus 111, turnover differential of plus 9. And I don't even, I guess in those 2 losses one of them was against Seattle, which was Bo's first start, obviously. And then you had the back and forth thriller in Cincinnati. So against a really good team, even though they didn't make the playoffs. So I think you've seen the Broncos, like part of what made them a good team a year ago is, again, they didn't beat themselves, and they kind of did what good teams do to win games. And that's win the turnover battle, win the time of possession, those sorts of things. And I think the recipe is kind of the same this weekend. I think you toss in some big plays. Again, if you're able to get an early lead, that's the that's like the number one thing. If you were like, pick one thing that could happen this weekend that could help the Broncos win the football game, it's score early on offense so that Cam Ward in this, like, they've got some good running backs. Take that away from him. Like, can you go up 7-0, 10-0? Can you put them in a place where they feel like they've got to chase, or Cam Ward has to hold the ball for an extra second and you let Nick Bonito get to him? Like, that feels like one of the ways that you can win this football game. And man, it's just Monday as we're recording this, and I'm like, I'm ready to watch the football game. We've still got 6 more days to go.
But I'm ready to break this down, and we have more stats to talk about. And it's like, let's just hold off till Thursday.
I know, yeah.
Because but I think you're right. I think when you look at the overall culture this team has built, I think the mindset that I think this team has going is like, we did everything we needed to do. I think that was a really big focal point for this coaching staff, is to leave no doubt that you did everything possible during the offseason to prepare for the season. And I think between guys, staying around here and getting extra treatment and coming to work out, and remember Jaleel McLaughlin, who welcomed a beautiful baby girl. He posted it on his Instagram.
Nice.
So shout out to
congrats to Jaleel.
Shout out to Jaleel McLaughlin. But even during the offseason, when I talked to him briefly, he mentioned, like, I didn't go on vacation. Like, he's like, I'm here. I'm working. Exactly. So I think you feel confident going into week one, knowing that you left no doubt in the offseason. You did everything you needed to do. You created camaraderie in the locker room. You found a way to develop. You found a way to try new things during training camp. That's something that a lot of the guys said that they did, was push each other to find new ways to, your favorite quote. Remember it? The Kobe one?
Oh, something about beasts and animals?
Can you be a different animal but the same beast? This is what we're talking about. Let us know in the comments what you think. Does that quote make sense? But anyways, I think that's exactly what...
No.
I think that's exactly what you look for as you go into game week. And I'm excited. I know we're going to talk more about it, but...
I mean, I just think there's also something like training camp is routine in terms of a day-to-day grind, but there's something nice about when you get in game week and Wednesday you get that initial injury report and you hear from Bo and you hear for the first time from Coach Payton, and then like Thursday you keep going and it's like, okay, well, what's going on with the injury report? Is this guy improving to limited, or what's happening out in Tennessee with this guy? And then Friday it's kind of like you wind down a little bit, but you want that sharp practice. And then man, you always wake up Sunday morning and there's like a little bit of nervous energy. And I'm excited to see what Empower Field at Mile High is like on Sunday, because I guess it was just last year. You're coming back after a loss, and so people are still excited about Bo, but like you're 0-1 and it was a little bit of a difficult opener. This one to me, again, like I said at the top, there's just so much unbridled excitement, and for good reason. And that place is going to be rocking on Sunday. If you're there, I hope you're loud. Make it difficult. Like, this is your chance to make it difficult for Cam Ward and really help the Broncos get off to a good start here, because, listen, the Chiefs and Chargers, they play each other on Friday night. One of those teams is going to lose. Probably. Maybe they'll tie. Who knows? But it's like, take your chance early in the year to, like, jump ahead of one of these teams.
Yeah.
And I get that. Yeah, at some point you'll play them and it all works out. But, man, wouldn't it be sweet to be ahead of one of those teams going into week 2 and be like, well, we got a 1 in our win column and you got a 0. Like, that would be nice.
Yes.
And there's going to be some challenging stretches. You've got 4 of your first 5 right on the road here. No, 5 of your first 6. I keep forgetting that. No, I'm wrong. I can't count. 4 of the 5 after this week are on the road. And so it's like, you got to find places to get wins. And we talk every year, winning at home is important. Winning the division is important. I think it's a good chance to set the tone. And like, the Broncos have become this team this offseason that everybody's excited to see. Everybody has high expectations. They're kind of like this buzzy team. And it's like, okay, well, now go out there and do it, right? And so Sean Payton said, I think it was Thursday, there's always, like, you're anxious to see what do you have and what does this team look like. And we're getting closer. We're not there quite yet, but we're getting closer to seeing what it looks like.
Yeah. And I just looking at Tennessee, they were 3-14 last season. And one thing that I always respect about Sean Payton is he doesn't underestimate anybody. Like he's like they've made changes and we have to be ready for whatever those changes are going to be. And like that, and it's the same mindset he has for this team. It's like what happened last year does not carry over.
Yeah.
We are starting at 0 as well. So we cannot move forward thinking like it's going to be exactly how it was last year. We're hoping it's better, but you have to come into this with the same hungry, young, team unity mindset that you did last year.
Yeah, well, they added a Pro Bowler up front. They've added a couple different offensive linemen in addition to
got the number one overall pick.
They've got a quarterback that, right, like you said, is the number one overall pick, and there were some flashes in the preseason where you're just like, man, what a throw. And so things can change quick in the NFL. No one would have. I mean, we were hopeful last year, but not a lot of people thought, hey, Bo's going to lead this team to the postseason. So yeah, you can't. And like I said, with the New England thing, there's no easy. This is not. Who did USC play? Missouri State? Right?
Yes, 73-14.
There's no Missouri States on the schedule.
This is true.
It's got to be real tough for USC to look that good, based on the last couple of years. So
whatever. This was at the Sean Payton mentality. It's not about last year. It's about this year.
That's true.
Dropping a whole 70+. What did your team do?
Yikes. I think we're out of time.
No, we're out of time. Yeah, we are. But you know what? We're going to have more content for you guys because, again, on Thursday, we will have our game preview for week 1, the home opener, as we host the Tennessee Titans. And as you mentioned, the number 1 overall pick. We're very excited to have the season started to get all this content for you guys. Make sure you guys stay tuned on Altitude Advantage. And teaser, I have something very special for you guys that's going to be tomorrow on social. So if you guys are listening to this,
like, what are you talking about? But now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so we can't say it just yet, but it's going to be very exciting, and it has to do with you, Broncos country, being there on Sunday, being loud, getting louder sooner. It's exactly what we want to see. So until then, we will have you covered on Thursday with a game preview. Once again, I'm your team reporter and host, Elisa Hernandez. Across the table from us, we have our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, our stats guru, and more nicknames to come as we kick off the season.